Welcome back to Chat Room. We're talking about the most regretted college majors. Welcome back to Chat Room. We're talking about the most regretted college majors, and I'm with my co-host.
Hey, this is Michael.
So today we have a list of 5 of the most regretted college majors, and starting off with number 1 is English and foreign language. What do you think about that, Michael?
So I definitely expected it to be something in the humanities, kind of liberal arts, which is a little less science, a little less practical. But it's interesting that it's both English and foreign language. I almost feel that my suspicion would be it's mostly just English students. As I feel like at least learning a foreign language, admittedly, if you learn something like Latin or maybe a really impractical language, you're not going very far. But if you learn Chinese, no matter what you do, you can then parlay that into some sort of business thing as international and, as big as trade is with, China or other countries. That seems like that'd be a benefit. But yeah. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think because in the statement it says about 42% of the survey respondents who had this major regretted their choice. ZipRecruiter found why. Reasons included that this field is impractical and has limited job opportunities, which I'm going to just throw something in there. I disagree with that because, like you were saying, okay, you went to school, you got a foreign language, maybe you're fluent in Spanish or Chinese. Well, if you could learn like a small skill on top of that, like let's say like you're a salesperson or a project manager or, a writer, or any type of thing, a marketing person, you can most companies do like business in other countries. So you just literally took your worth so far high than any other person trying to compete with that position in like big companies and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you could be the best salesman ever. If you don't know how to speak Japanese, that business is going to have a hard time trying to sell them stuff. You know what I mean? So I disagree with maybe English. I think that's like a very generic kind of degree, but I definitely disagree with foreign language. And I know here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, like a lot of our schools have Mexican students, and a lot of those parents, they came over here from Mexico and they don't have good English. So like that's a job just by itself. And I've heard that job actually makes, the average income. So like at least 38,000 and up. So it's a good starting point,
Yeah. And I do think maybe you're onto something though too. Like one of the limitations with an English degree, again, maybe not so much a foreign language, but yeah, when I think what do you do with an English degree, it's basically teach other people English. So yeah, it's kind of a narrow career field. Now we actually definitely need teachers right now. There's a teacher shortage in the state and probably broadly. So,
Right.
But yeah, I guess if somebody's like, I wanted to do something else, then I could see there being regrets. But,
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I've actually heard that there's like a shortage for need of teachers
oh yeah.
as well. Just because everything's so like remote and kids are going to school on tablets now, it's like we don't need to have a teacher here to pretty much read the board to the class for 8 hours a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I disagree with that statement, but
yeah,
it's what's happening.
There's a lot to it. Honestly, we could do a whole nother episode on what's affecting teachers right now. So,
Alrighty. Well, at number 2, we have biological and physical science.
okay. Yeah, I feel like this makes me feel good because a while ago in chat room, we talked about what subject you would replace, and I definitely kind of harped on biology. So, boom, points. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I think that's another one too where, and maybe this is because it's hyper competitive, because if you're able to do something like biology and physics, there are spaces that you can make that work. But in a lot of ways too, it's hard to get in those fields. And if you realize that you're not great with math, but you just felt like it was too late, so you finished the degree, then yeah, I could see you being like, I'm out of this.
Yeah. Okay. So in the article, it says it's hard to find a job without an advanced degree in addition to their bachelor's. Survey takers said, which explains why 35% regretted this measure. It's also often requires getting a license of some sort. And I do know like these type of degrees are like usually like the leg up into like doctor school, med school, being a dentist and stuff. A lot of biology degrees in this atmosphere. That is very true. So like if you don't plan on going to school for another 6 years pretty much after you've already been 4 or 3 or 4, I could see how it's very limited to like what do you actually do with that degree.
Yeah that doesn't surprise me when you put it that way. So yeah
Alrighty, so number 3 we have education degrees.
Yep. Well, this just gets back to it.
Yeah. So in the article, it says teaching the next generation sounds great in theory, but 31% regret the choice. Survey respondents said that the field has low pay and job satisfaction, plus limited job opportunities. I definitely would agree with the low pay, and I definitely would agree probably with the job satisfaction. I think that has a lot to do with what school, what grade, how your classmates are, the other teachers, the structure of the school in general, like the atmosphere. I'm not sure how I feel about the limited job opportunities. I definitely do not feel like it's in like the bottom 5 of like job opportunities being a teacher.
Yeah.
Like I definitely think there's other degrees that you would have a way harder time trying to get a job.
Yeah, I wonder if that's again either is it talking about like they can't go up from that very easily, or maybe there's just a limitation on, I don't know, like choice, choosing what school you want to go to. You might not get to be as choosy there, but yeah, I mean, I feel like any mid-size, larger city for sure needs teachers again. So
yeah,
and
well, I'm not really sure. I would that you make a good point, because I think there is limited job opportunities. Like once you become a teacher, like there's not really like a leg up from that besides like principal or like
you have to
or
go
like
into administration.
Or like dean or something like that. So that probably is part of it, but also I'm not really, obviously me and you didn't go to public school, but I know like if you go how to get a job at a Hamilton County school, you go on HamiltonCountyCareers.com and you'll see 3rd grade teacher Howard, and then you'll see 1st grade teacher Brainerd. You know what I mean? So like it's like, well, what if I want to be a 3rd grade teacher at Brainerd? It's like, well, that's not available yet. If you want to be a 3rd grade teacher, you have Middle Valley and Howard. Please pick one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I imagine
maybe that.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean,
go ahead.
I think we're just concurring, but yeah, in the same way that students or more of their parents probably really wish their students could go to certain schools. I'm sure it's the same forces that draw in teachers. So some teachers are going to want to go to the best schools, and those schools are always going to have their choice of teachers, and not so otherwise. And I think you mentioned a while back too, like you need certifications and stuff like that. And since you brought up our background, I just remember one of the distinct things I kind of learned as friends of mine when I went to college were wanting to be teachers is that if you start off in a private school, there's often a little less kind of hoops that you have to jump through, really, which seems surprising because in a lot of ways you think that would be the opposite. But there's more certifications and training you need for public schools. So it's just more that you have to do to get, perhaps a limited job or not a great job or whatever.
Right. Okay, so number 4, we have social sciences and law.
Okay.
And before I even read why, I think it's going to have a lot to do with the second one that I've already talked about in this video. That's biological and physical sciences. I feel like law is one of those, that bachelor's degree. There's so much more, you still have law school behind you. So I think a lot of people are going to kind of be like, well, what do I do with it if I don't want to go into a higher politics job or law school? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and they think they want to at the start, but they don't at the end. Or they're like, I want to go to Harvard Law. What? How hard is it to get into Harvard? How much does that cost? Oh my God.
Yeah. How hard is it just to get into Harvard at all?
Yeah.
Not even law school. Law school's a different breed of a person.
Yeah, for real.
I don't even know if those people are human.
Yep.
But so in the article, it says about 29% of the survey takers regretted signing up for this major. And there is reasons. The first one is it's too general. And then the second one is it's impractical. And third one is it's too hard to find a job without furthering your studies.
Well, definitely that.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like shook on this further study because I'm not really sure like all the things you would do with social sciences, but I do know with like a law degree or like pre-law, I know that's a bachelor's degree that they're probably referencing to.
Yeah. What?
Even if, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, so social science, they're probably talking about psychology, sociology. So a lot of those are, people
General.
think, yeah, it's either general or, if you don't become a psychiatrist, there can be a money distinction. If you're a counselor, you might have good feelings that you're helping people. Same with a social worker. But those tend to be very low paying, kind of thankless jobs too. So
Yeah, and a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. It's still just funny to me that this is another one where kind of like English and foreign language, like those two, I kind of get why they're paired together. But these ones seem so different. And I'm like, lawyers at least make tons of money if they ever make it out. Social workers, they can do all this stuff and they're never going to get rich off of it. So it just seems like it's like such a disparate group of people to include. I don't know why it's together is all I wanted to say.
Well, the first reason is it's too general. So I'm going to like take that and put it with social sciences. And then the second one's impractical, and I'm going to put that kind of like in the middle, and then it's too hard to find a job without further study. But for that last reason, it's really shaking me because if you go into a degree like pre-law or anything in that area, you're going to have to learn new laws whether you go like to new states. Like, you know what I mean? Everything is like the law is such a little funny little thing. Like everything changes like by the county pretty much. You know how many counties we have in America? Like you're always going to have to learn new laws.
Yeah.
And laws are always going to be changed. So like even if the job doesn't require you to study more, you're still going to have to like know like the new laws.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to like somehow like read that information and understand it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably like what medical careers have, but even like architects and stuff, they have what's called continuing education. And a lot of time that's required by, the office or just to have their license. So I could see like a firm requiring them do a lot of that too.
Yeah. And I mean, like, not to be get off topic, but like a couple years ago, I tried to buy alcohol in East Ridge, Tennessee, which is literally like 2 minutes from Chattanooga, pretty much at any point of Chattanooga. You can't buy alcohol like in East Ridge, Tennessee. Who would have known that? You know what I mean? So like that's like a dumb law. Like, you know what I mean? So I can't even imagine how much they changed them because you can now buy alcohol in East Ridge. So like that's changed just in those 2 years. And that's like, I feel like a small scale law. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
So
good point.
Right. All right. So number 5 is communications.
Say it ain't so. No, I didn't do that one. It makes it sound like I did, but I do really love a lot of what communications majors have. But that's one where I can definitely get it because a lot of people that do communications, or maybe the people that think they're going to be a news anchor one day.
Yeah.
It's sometimes schools that aren't big enough for journalism.
Yeah.
Colleges, communication kind of becomes the de facto version of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you think you're going to be in a news agency, and if you're lucky, maybe you become that. But even if you do, I've seen the way the local ones work.
Yeah.
And, they're so cut down on staff that you're like your own producer. You're having to do social media. You're setting up your own camera. I mean, I went when I was like 15 as part of this thing through Chat State and shadowed a news agency. And back then there were 3 people that would go out on a simple shoot. And I was still like helping them. And now, I mean, I literally seen it. Some, poor young lady, young guy who's having to lug everything and do all that on his own. They're not making as much as they used to. It's still hyper competitive. That's a world that's always had free, or not free, but like unpaid internships, which I'm not a fan of personally, because who can afford that just to, possibly get a job at some big company?
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see there being a lot of quick regrets. I mean, hopefully it helps you in other ways, writing, speaking, that's all important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see people having some regrets still.
Right. So in the article, it says ZipRecruiter found that 27% of people who studied in this field regretted it. And why might that be? It says you probably guessed it. It's too general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I definitely agree with that. It is a general degree, but it's like you said as well. It does have a lot of like skills you can learn from that degree. I think communication is honestly one of the most important degrees that you could ever use and that goes for anybody. I don't think everybody should study it in college, but I think they should definitely input like more of that in high school and like middle school, like communication tactics, because no matter if you're architect, doctor, project manager, sales, engineer, anything, you're going to have to communicate to folks. You're going to have to learn different ways to communicate with people. You just can't get enough education on communication. So I definitely think it's one of the most understatement, like important, like studies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. No, I concur. So I want to ask before, in case you were going to, just pivot to closing out. I was curious, John, do you feel that your degree, which I don't think, no, your degree would have been included.
Yeah.
Do you feel any regret for your degree? And I don't mind answering after you. I'm not just going to put you on the spot.
No, I don't feel any regret in my degree. And this is probably going to sound really bad saying this out loud, but I didn't really get my degree based on like it wasn't 100% based on what I wanted to do after college. I got my degree because I'm a big believer that having a college degree is the new it's pretty much the 1980s like diploma, high school diploma in my eyes.
Yeah.
So I think having a degree, a lot of people nowadays, say, okay, well, if you can go to school, you can, manage your life around friends, parties, part-time job. You can still take the information, take notes in class, show up to class on time, respect your professors, respect people at the school, figure out how to get through there, navigate your way, no matter what you do and succeed, then I know that you're a good applicant for my company, no matter what it is. It's saying that, okay, this guy's responsible. Like, and there's actual proof that this guy can, tackle things that happens in his home life. He can still implement it at work. You know what I mean? So like, that's why I got a degree. So I kind of don't regret it. I think it's a good thing that I have it. So I didn't really get a degree based on like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm just going to teach. And that was the only thing that I had on my mind. It wasn't. I just knew that it would better my life no matter what degree I got, because, the type of owner I would want to work for is a person that sees it as the hard work, not what the title of your degree is.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think you're going to feel very good then and validated, because my response is actually going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you would expect that. Both that I don't really regret my degree, so we feel somewhere there, but also that, I would say by the end of junior year, because even though I took a few of my major classes early, a lot of times you do most of them junior and senior year.
Yeah.
But by the end of my junior year, I was studying geography with a focus in climatology and meteorology. So weatherman or climate scientist is kind of your main tracks there. Yep. I get that reaction a lot, so, it's cool. But I knew that there was a good chance that that's not what I wanted to do anymore. I'd already kind of started pivoting because I went to kind of a school similar size to UTC. I went to Western Kentucky. So it's kind of a middle range school as far as size.
Yeah.
So then I have a climatology department. They had a geography department. And so I was kind of exploring other things within that. So if you looked at my degree, it'd still pretty much say geography.
Yeah.
So it kind of looked like that's what I was trying to do, but essentially it was a pivot.
Yeah.
And even then, when I graduated, and I graduated right in the recession, so it was a little hard to find a job, but I basically started to pivot again So very quickly was already moving away from my college skills. But my dad, who's worked in education his entire life, has definitely emphasized, because he's seen so many people drop out because they get frustrated with their specific track.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you were that close, yeah, oftentimes they really do, job seekers, employers really do just want to see that you can put in the work and that you have a degree.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the paper matters more than what it says on it.
Yeah.
I would even say, like, the specific college doesn't even matter as much, or, university, depending on what terminology you use, unless it's like a huge major one. And even then, so yeah, just having one. So no regrets.
Yeah.
Cost a little money to do it. Definitely had some student loans, but,
Yeah.
I think you and I are both fortunate, it sounds like, because I've seen some stats since this, and it's at least like 40% of students, it seems like, have regrets over their major, which is a fair amount.
Yeah. Yeah, like and subscribe. Stay tuned to our next videos. We got a lot of good content coming out.
Yeah, excited to share it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, bye-bye.